I'm bringing up your next slammer. She's a writer who lives in Norfolk with her husband, daughter, 2 sons, and 3 dogs. Her writing has been featured in various newspapers and websites. Most recently, her work is focused on her experiences as a cancer caregiver to her husband battling stage 4 melanoma, and as a patient herself with stage 2 breast cancer, all before the age of 40. When she isn't busy trying to keep her head above water in life, she's busy teaching local kids how to do it in the pool, as she's been doing for the past 25 years. Help me welcome to the stage, Betsy Hnath. Come on, Betsy.
Talk about. I thought I could talk about, what it's like to hear that your husband has 6 weeks to live. He's been diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic melanoma. And then I thought I could tell a story about what it's like to look next to you and 5 years later see the covers and sheets rise and fall with his breath, and see how great that is. But instead, I thought I might tell a story about another relationship in my life that's very important. It's been lifelong, and so I thought today I would talk about my boobs. I hope that's okay. Nothing better than talking about your boobs with 75 of your closest strangers. So, as a kid, for me, I was a bit of a tomboy, and I was the one who was out there in the mud pits and picking up frogs, and I really identified with Laura Ingalls Wilder, not the character in the book, but the one on TV, like the buck-toothed, freckled face, the braided-haired, one hanging out with all the boys, and that was me. That was me. I was so thankful that she was on television. And I was a swimmer, so I spent half my life half naked. And I loved it, every minute of it. And I was sort of a late bloomer, so I was completely fine with it. And in fact, I was actually grateful. And I would look at some of these other girls that were around me and watch as their bodies started to push their swimsuits out in different directions and think, I'm so glad it wasn't me. Because I watched the boys change how they looked at these girls and how the girls even looked differently at these girls, and think I was so thankful that I didn't have to deal with that yet. Until the summer between 9th and 10th grade, when Kitty Berry came and paid me a visit. And she stayed for a while. Gave me a double helping. And that summer, everything changed. I came back, and the boys really looked at me a little differently, and I looked at them differently. I did a lot of crossing of arms across my chest, and wearing big baggy t-shirts and turtlenecks, and it's really uncomfortable in my own skin, and I didn't really know what to do with it. I didn't mind the boobs as much as I minded the attention that came along with them. And it didn't really change much until I met my husband, and last year we celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary, which of course, means that we got married when I was 12. But no. We met when I was 19, and he's a guy, so of course he liked them, but he liked other parts too. And so with that, I got a little more comfortable about me, and I started to get a little more confident about me. So I started wearing things that were a little more snug and hugged in different directions, and to the point where when we got married, I wore a wedding dress that was a little lower cut. I mean, how often can you show off this part of your body in front of your husband, your father, and a priest? So, for a few years it was great. It was good. I was rocking. It felt good. And then I had kids, and I breastfed. And any woman here who's done that knows where they go, which is south. And so, you know, my daughter, who was probably 3 or 4 at the time, I was coming out of the shower and she looked up at me and she said, "Your breasts are funny." And I said, "They're funny, why?" And she said, "They're long." And then I had 2 more kids and I nursed them too, and they didn't get any shorter. And that's about when my husband got sick. And I did another kind of nursing. And anybody who's had a spouse or a parent knows what that's like. You kind of lose yourself in the process. You don't get a lot of time for you. And after George was stable, which is great, I thought, you know, it's time for me. I'm going to take a year for me. And I decided in that year I was going to get in shape. And I swam, and I ran, and I biked, and I felt good. And I lost a little weight. And when I lost weight, the long got flat. That's okay. I rolled them up. Tucked them into those jog bras. Thank God for jog bras, because seriously, without those, I'd be slapping and clapping. It was like 50 shades of gray hair. It was bad. And it was okay. But one night I was laying in bed and there wasn't much there anymore, so I could feel things and felt a lump. And I asked my husband, who's a doctor, "What is that?" And he said, "When are you getting that mammogram?" That mammogram, right. That prescription had been sitting on my counter for probably 3 or 4 months because I felt great. And I said, okay, yeah. Went in and got it done. The doctor came in and said, "I need to see you back. There's something there. We should biopsy it." On the way home from the biopsy, I said to my husband, because he told me, you know, I can check your records, and so I can tell you, I can call you. When the results come in, this is one of the benefits about having a doctor in the family. You get those test results early. It's kind of nice, except for this. And I said, "Well, you know what that means. You might have to tell me that I have cancer." And he said, "Yeah, it's okay. I can deal with that." Sure enough, I was in the middle of a swimming lesson, and my phone rang, and got out of the pool, and it was my husband, and he said, "That's," and I said, "Yeah." He said, "It's cancer." And my world stopped. And those breasts that I had finally come to terms with, I would have cut off with a butter knife. I had double mastectomy and chemo and radiation and the whole 9 yards. And when they reconstruct you, they stick these really awful plastic, horrible expanders in you that are lumpy and hard, and they're like you lean against something and it doesn't move. And I remember one day really clearly looking in the mirror, and my hair was just starting to grow back, and I hadn't started dyeing it yet, and it was gray, and I was lumpy, and all of the fitness I had tried for was gone. And I had scars, and nothing looked like myself anymore. And I just started crying. And I got into the shower, and the water was mixing with my tears, and I just said, "Oh my God. Oh my God." I looked down, and these hard plastic things were in me, and there weren't any nipples. And I said, oh my God. My tits just like Barbie. Now, that was 3 years ago. Our relationship is much better now. Much better. And there are some perks about being perky again. 3 words I never thought would be in my vocabulary at this age. Bras are optional. And I look like I'm 20. I mean, parts of me. And I will never, ever be ashamed or take them for granted again.